what will be known as the most popular signature shoe to ever grace the earth. And I am talking about one Michael Jeffrey Jordan. For Christmas 1985, Nike dropped their very first festive Air Jordan commercial starring Michael Jordan in the Air Jordan 1 Chicago and Santa rocking the infamous band colorway.
Nike unveiled Caitlin Clark's latest advertising campaign during Christmas Day broadcasts, generating widespread excitement and appreciation among viewers. The promotional spot represents arguably the most innovative creative direction the sportswear company has executed in approximately 5 to 10 years. Among recent advertising releases, this From Anywhere campaign stands out as demonstrating exceptional originality compared to previous efforts. An interesting historical parallel emerged upon closer examination. 4 decades earlier, another basketball superstar received similar Christmas Day treatment from Nike.
Think Air Jordan this season by Nike.
Now, as you know, the Caitlin Clark commercial aired during the football games on Netflix.
In 1985, the brand launched its inaugural holiday-themed Air Jordan advertisement featuring Michael Jordan himself wearing the Chicago Air Jordan 1 design, while Santa Claus appeared sporting the controversial band colorway that would become legendary in sneaker culture. The timing of Clark's commercial proved strategically sound, airing during NFL games streamed on Netflix and NBA contests broadcast across ESPN and ABC networks. While many supporters expressed wishes that signature footwear could have been available immediately for holiday purchases, Nike did coordinate merchandise releases alongside the advertisement launch, preventing a complete marketing disconnect. The primary disappointment centers on the extended wait until the actual signature shoe becomes available for purchase, likely arriving sometime between late April and early May rather than during the holiday season when promotional momentum peaks. Behind-the-scenes footage revealed the production taking place in a residential neighborhood, creating an unusual spectacle for local residents.
Games on Netflix, aired during the basketball games on ESPN, ABC. The Nike commercial came at the perfect time as far as Christmas release goes. Yes, you wish that the shoe would be out by now. We wish that more merchandise would be out by now. But merchandise did get released coinciding with the commercial. So Nike, they didn't completely drop the ball. We just wish we'd had a signature shoe by now for Christmas time, not hyping everybody up during Christmas. And then we have January, February, March, April.
Imagine living in a suburban development and suddenly noticing an influx of Nike vehicles, production crews, lighting equipment, and camera operators converging on a nearby property. Residents merely going about their daily routines, perhaps preparing to pull into their own driveways, would have encountered the surprising sight of a major commercial production featuring a prominent athlete filming just houses away from to their own homes. The unexpected neighborhood transformation into a temporary film set created a memorable experience for anyone witnessing the activity. Social media platforms, particularly TikTok, rapidly embraced the campaign's core concept and branding elements. Users immediately began creating derivative content based on the commercial's theme, generating viral trends and user-generated variations.
Have January, February, March, April. Shoe comes out sometime late April, early May. Now, we have some behind the scenes. Caitlin Clark shooting around for her commercial. And now I will say this. I live in a development. Imagine being one of the neighbors on this block. And you just turn to your right. Look at that car pulling up. Here we go. Pulling. Like, look at that car pulling up.
The campaign's catchphrase and visual identity quickly spread across digital platforms, with creators incorporating basketball shooting challenges inspired by the advertisement. Some content featured comparisons to other notable long-range shooters in professional basketball, demonstrating how effectively the concept resonated with online audiences. Nike's corporate headquarters showcased prominent displays featuring Clark's imagery throughout their facilities, indicating the company's significant investment in promoting this athlete partnership. The visible commitment at the world headquarters location signals the brand's recognition of her marketability and cultural impact. A stark contrast becomes apparent when examining the advertising approaches between different athlete partnerships.
Here we go. Pulling. Like, look at that car pulling up, getting ready to turn into their driveway, and then out of nowhere they see a Nike van here, a Nike van there, commercial crew here, commercial crew there, and then in like your neighbor's house, two houses down in their driveway, you're like, is that Kayla? Well, what's she doing here? How crazy is this? This is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Then you have TikTok already getting their hands on the Caitlin Clark logo, the Caitlin Clark.
Aja Wilson's Nike commercial employed a fundamentally different creative strategy. That advertisement centered on adapting a widely recognized children's song, the traditional patty cake nursery rhyme, with modified lyrics referencing Wilson's accomplishments and accolades. The production featured Wilson's achievements and championship moments set to this familiar tune with basketball-specific word substitutions. The commercial included an appearance by comedian and television personality Don Cheadle, but the overall creative execution leaned heavily on the recognizable song rather than developing original conceptual territory. The Wilson advertisement highlighted various accomplishments, MVP awards, championships, and dominant performances while incorporating the modified lyrics over game footage and celebration moments.
On the Caitlin Clark logo, the Caitlin Clark campaign from where? You got everybody pulling up from here. Already turning it into a trend. Oh, hit it with Steph Curry. Hitting the Steph Curry.
However, the creative approach essentially involved retrofitting existing cultural material rather than building something distinctive from the ground up. Clark's commercial took a markedly different approach, building an entire narrative around her exceptional shooting range. The advertisement featured multiple individuals at various locations challenging whether she could successfully make shots from increasingly absurd distances and situations. Each scenario presented someone questioning her ability to convert from that particular spot, with Clark consistently proving the doubters wrong. The commercial included numerous recognizable figures making cameo appearances, each questioning whether Clark could make shots from their respective locations.
Now, what I want to show you guys is the difference between this Caitlin Clark commercial. Before we get to that, they got him in the world headquarters.
Boom!
Hey, Caitlin Clark logo all over the place. Now, what I want to show you here is A'ja Wilson's commercial, and I'm going to play Caitlin Clark's commercial right after that, just to show you the difference between the two. Let's take a look.
A'ja Wilson.
Television personality Lisa Bluter appeared, as did prominent entertainment and sports personalities including Travis Kelce, Jason Kelce, Travis Scott, and Michael Che. The casting choices reflected existing connections. Clark had appeared on their podcast, maintains friendships within their social circles through her association with popular musicians, and had participated in Saturday Night Live alongside some of these personalities. The production incorporated meaningful details beyond the surface-level concept. The advertisement opens with Clark shooting in a residential driveway, referencing her background practicing in similar settings during her developmental years. An Easter egg detail includes a youth basketball team wearing attack jerseys, reportedly referencing Clark's AAU team from her competitive youth career.
A'ja Wilson's on top, can't take her spot. She's a real one, true, always does what she'll do.
Oh my goodness, this is a great feeling.
She won MVP, P, 1, 2, and 3. Her game is T. She made history, free. From the mid, it's a rap. All black is no cap. They said she wasn't enough, so she did it for us.
These layers of authentic biographical detail added depth beyond simple celebrity endorsements. The structural concept itself, from anywhere, creates an instantly memorable and repeatable marketing phrase that encapsulates Clark's playing style and reputation for extraordinary shooting range. The tagline works both as literal description and brand positioning, giving fans and media a shorthand reference that extends beyond the commercial itself into broader cultural conversation. The creative differences between the two advertisements reflect varying levels of conceptual development and production ambition. One approach relied on familiar cultural material with minimal original creative framework, essentially modifying existing content to fit an athlete's narrative.
Right? When I got on this journey, one thing, you realize in the midst of it is this is growing, of course. And also, there is not as much heritage or competition or legacy media coverage, endorsements, all those things, which brings greater opportunity. And you see these major brand deals in the works. I mean, I've talked about the Caitlin Clark one a lot lately. That's an obvious thing. Caitlin Clark is a force unique on her own. And that would be a one-off if it were just Caitlin Clark.
The alternative approach constructed an original concept from foundation to execution, incorporating meaningful personal details, celebrity collaborations that reflected authentic relationships, and a repeatable catchphrase that could extend beyond the advertisement into sustained marketing campaigns. Production values, conceptual originality, narrative structure, and memorable messaging all contribute to advertising effectiveness. When these elements combine coherently around a central theme that authentically represents the athlete while creating engaging content, the result typically generates stronger audience response and longer-lasting cultural impact. The comparison illustrates how different creative approaches yield dramatically different results, even when promoting athletes within the same sport under the same brand umbrella.
Unique on her own. And that would be a one-off if it were just Caitlin Clark, of course. And it's not. But, Caitlin Clark, this Nike ad, it has 30 million views or something on Instagram. And of course, it would be naive to not recognize her as the catalyst behind this explosive growth. And that's why her fans got impatient that her shoe didn't drop and her stuff didn't come out. But, she doesn't need the promotion. She doesn't need all that because she's.
One advertisement appears hastily assembled with minimal original creative development, possibly rushed to meet scheduling demands or competitive pressures regarding product releases. The alternative demonstrates careful planning, conceptual development, and execution that creates distinctive identity rather than relying on borrowed familiarity. Historical context adds another dimension to Clark's commercial significance. Following in the tradition established by Jordan's groundbreaking 1985 Christmas advertisement creates a symbolic connection between generational basketball icons.
But, she doesn't need the promotion. She doesn't need all that because she's such a singular star. And, we've gone over and over, rising tide lifts all boats and whatever wouldn't do any good if it only boosted one yacht, I guess is a way to put it. But it's not just Caitlin Clark. It's not just Caitlin Clark. You see apparently Nike has trademarked this deal for Paige Beckers, or this logo for Paige Beckers here. Nike has filed a new trademark for Paige Beckers' bucket logo, and there's been some back and forth over.
Nike's decision to grant Clark similar holiday promotional treatment reserved historically for their most valued athlete partnerships signals the company's recognition of her potential to achieve comparable cultural and commercial impact within basketball culture and broader sports marketing. The advertising investments, creative approaches, and strategic positioning reflected in these campaigns reveal corporate assessments of different athletes' marketability and cultural resonance. When companies allocate resources toward highly creative, celebrity-studded productions with conceptual originality and biographical authenticity, those decisions reflect confidence in that athlete's ability to generate returns, justifying such investments. Conversely, simpler executions relying on modified existing material may indicate different strategic priorities or resource allocation decisions.
Nike has filed a new trademark for Paige Beckers' bucket logo, and there's been some back and forth over whether people like the logo or not, but it could signify that she is the next signature Nike athlete. And now eventually Nike will get to the problem where they're not going to have enough to go around. But it is still new where Nike can corner the market on the big stars like a Caitlin Clark, like a Paige Beckers. The Sabrinas have done well. A'ja Wilson has her shoes. Now, if you got Paige, all of a sudden you're at 5. So that does leave opportunities for other
Marketing effectiveness ultimately depends on multiple factors, including creative quality, strategic timing, authentic representation, memorable messaging, and cultural resonance. The From Anywhere campaign appears to excel across these dimensions, creating advertising content that generated immediate social media engagement, established repeatable catchphrases, incorporated authentic biographical details, featured meaningful celebrity collaborations, and delivered a concept distinctive enough to stand apart in a crowded sports marketing landscape. The surge of corporate sponsorships flooding into women's basketball can be understood through a timing metaphor. Picture ocean swells approaching the coastline. Success requires identifying the right swell and positioning oneself precisely as it builds momentum, not after it has already broken.
Her shoes. Now, if you got Paige, all of a sudden you're at 5. So that does leave opportunities for other brands to capitalize. Nate Jones writes this: keep an eye out on the women's basketball signature shoe situation at Nike. They've pretty much locked all the biggest names up, but I don't think they can sustain 5+ women's signatures. We've had Sabrina, Asia, Caitlin Dunn. I imagine Paige is pushing hard. Then you got Juju Watkins, who has the big deal, and obviously he's coming in. So what does that mean? That means bigger opportunity for other stars from other brands if Nike is spread too thin there. And we've seen Angel Reese.
Companies recognize this current moment as that optimal entry point for women's basketball investment. Multiple elements drive this corporate enthusiasm, but the primary motivation centers on strategic timing. Organizations perceive this as the crucial window before the market becomes oversaturated with competitors. The landscape currently offers significantly less historical baggage compared to men's athletics, fewer established partnerships, less entrenched media relationships, and minimal legacy endorsement structures.
Or other stars from other brands if Nike is spread too thin there. And we've seen Angel Reese has done her thing with Reebok. And that's another aspect of this conversation is there is an influencer aspect to some of the stars in women's college basketball, women's professional basketball, the WNBA. I've worked at brands and I see, I don't know how much it's changed in recent times, but there was this huge influencer push. It was like, we got to get an influencer to do this. We got to get, like somebody on TikTok. And that's not to diminish what I'm about to say, but
this relative emptiness creates expanded possibilities for brands seeking market share. Recent major athlete partnerships illustrate this trend. The Caitlin Clark-Nike collaboration generated approximately 30 million Instagram impressions, exemplifying the commercial potential, while Clark functions as an exceptional catalyst, driving explosive expansion in the sport. Reducing the phenomenon solely to her influence would miss the broader pattern.
On TikTok. And that's not to diminish what I'm about to say, but it just goes to show you how some of these people think behind the scenes. And there's the opportunity to use brand ambassadors who can connect with that audience. Angel Reese is a star like that. She's a tremendous basketball player, great rebounder, versatile defender, all those sorts of things. But she's also able to do the Met Gala and fashion and all that, which appeals to a different type of audience if you're looking at that. And then again, like I said, Michael Jordan came along.
Her singular star power explains fan frustration regarding delayed signature product releases, though her prominence arguably requires less promotional support than typical athlete partnerships. The rising tide concept applies here. Growth benefiting only one entity would prove insufficient for sustained market development. The investment extends well beyond Clark. Nike recently secured trademark protection for Paige Buecher's bucket logo design, despite mixed public reception regarding the aesthetic.
Type of audience, if you're looking at that. And then again, like I said, Michael Jordan came along and LeBron James and Kobe Bryant and Allen Iverson and shoe after shoe after shoe after shoe on the men's side, so everybody got a shoe. And that will eventually happen on the women's side, but it hasn't happened yet where some of the biggest names are still available in a growing influence market, in a market that continues to grow. And, some of these players have become emerging stars. I mean, A'ja Wilson, let's be frank, has become a much bigger star in the last couple of years. Napheesa Collier has become a much bigger star.
This suggests her trajectory toward becoming another signature Nike athlete. The company has systematically captured major names, including Sabrina Ionescu, A'ja Wilson, and others. Clark makes the 4th major signature line, with Buecher's potentially becoming the 5th. This concentration strategy creates an interesting dilemma.